I'm John Kaiser in Vancouver at the Metals Investor Forum, May 25th, 2019. I am speaking with Normand Champigny of Quebec Precious Metals. Normand, welcome to Vancouver.
Thank you, John. Pleasure to be here.
Your project, flagship project, the Sakami in the James Bay region, does it have a resource estimate, and where does it stand right now? And what is the target that you feel you need to achieve at the sort of grade range that you have to have a mine that can be developed in this part of the world?
So today about 25,000 meters have been drilled, and we continue to drill. If you do calculation on your own, the data that exists, depending on assumption, you probably come up with 1.5 million ounces. It's not disclosed, but that was the basis, obviously, for why Goldcorp, now Newmont Goldcorp, made an investment to see the potential to get that to 2 million ounces or more, which would make it a very robust project in that region.
Now, there's no maiden resource estimate yet for this system,
no,
is there?
There is not.
When do you hope to be able to produce the first one?
We have started the process to be ready to do that by year-end, early next year.
And the system, 25,000 meters of drilling already done, more planned. If that back of the napkin estimate of 1.5 million is what it's going to turn out, where do you go to find more ounces? Do you chase this down plunge, or is there a long strike potential, or do you even have to hop skip along the trend to find additional zones like this?
Very good question. So the project is large. We've got 23 kilometers of a favorable contact. We've drilled in a small area, 800 meters strike length, 550 meters down plunge, 500 meter depth. And this is where the 1.5 is. But we already anticipated that perhaps we want to go elsewhere to make sure we get to the 2 million eventually or more. So we've drilled this year 1,600 meters in an area called Simon and JR, and we've got out of 11 holes, 10 hit gold, up to half an ounce over 2 meter near surface. So right now we're evaluating all of that. We'll go back to this new area and do some more drilling to see how much upside there is there, while also concentrating on the main area called La Pointe, where we have done this 25,000 meters and where we see the 1.5 million.
Now, in the various intervals that I've seen, you don't seem to have these really sort of flashy grades of 30 to 60 grams over 1 meter or anything like that. What is it about this system that prevents that type of eyeball attracting flash from developing in it?
Yeah, no flash, a lot of consistent typical grades of 3, 4, 5, 6. Sometimes you get up to 10 over intervals of 10, 20, 30 meters. Very consistent. It's a silicified paranite, so a very hard siliceous rock with disseminated arsenopyrite, good correlation between the two. You can see where you're going to hit the gold. You don't know how much you're going to have, and you don't get very high grades through. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but so far we haven't found it. We got to spend some more time looking at the structure, looking at the multi-element data that we have accumulated, and doing a bit more surface mapping, reinterpreting all of that to see if there's some possibilities of high grades. But so far it's remarkably consistent in that area.
So related to that comment, once they got into mining Eleonora, they discovered that there was a greater degree of complexity due to folding than they had modeled. From the understanding that you're developing for Sakami, is there a risk that some similar type of fold complexity is going to show up? And if there is, do you have a handle on it so that you're not going to be blindsided, or somebody won't be blindsided down the road?
So lessons have been learned from Eleonora. Our largest shareholder is Newmont Goldcorp. We spent some time looking at the discovery area of Eleonora and what they have modeled. We recognized that we could have that possibly where we are, and that's why we have a structural geologist as part of the team for the resource estimate involved. We have started to do oriented core so we can minimize those surprises. So far it looks less complex, geometrically speaking, than Eleonora, but you have to anticipate that this could happen, and you have to be prepared to do more modeling so you can better understand the geological controls and have realistic envelopes of the tonnage you're going to estimate.
Now, Quebec Precious Metals was assembled last year from several companies. One of them was Matamec, which I covered during Rare Earth Mania 1 in 2010-11 with the Kippawa project. I understand that you still have a 68% stake in Kippawa. It's not your focus, but given the recent interest in rare earths again, now that China and the United States are squaring off in a showdown that seems to be a winner-take-all type of showdown, which means it's probably going to go on forever and ever, resulting in rare earth resumptions and possibly rare earth mania 2. Toyota had looked at this project, done a fair amount of work, and it was shelved. Are you aware of what sort of stumbling blocks there were with this, other than the fact that the actual metal rare earth prices went way down the price deck?
The other stumbling block, apart from prices, is the fact that at that time the company had a great difficulty to engage with the local community, especially the First Nations. There are two of them. I have been there and I've met with the communities and the local people. I've told them exactly what we stated in our press release, which is we're not going to do more exploration, but what we're trying to do is combine that project with other rare earths projects in the province of Quebec. There are a number of them, and have Quebec institutions back that up, and have an anchor investor coming from elsewhere to advance the project in due course. Now, one of those companies called Geomega that you may know about, and they're also developing a process to treat industrial residues that contain rare earth, and that could be a standalone cash flow generating business. And eventually you can have sources of rare earth coming from mines or projects when the metal prices are right, or when you have deciphered the metallurgy, which is often very complex and specific to each project.
Well, the rare earth bearing mineral at Kippawa is eudialyte, and the problem with that is that when you put it into solution, it forms a gel that makes solvent extraction very difficult, and all the different groups stuck with eudialyte have been trying to solve this problem. Do you know if Toyota ever was able to solve this problem in the flow sheet?
Not when they were involved. However, a number of research initiatives were undertaken under the Matamec management, and there's still interest to continue those research initiatives. They were stopped because it couldn't continue. So, and there's interest by putting together rare earths project together to see what commonality may be, maybe what are the differences, and a specific research done to address this issue.
One final question. Sakami obviously is flagship. It's an advanced system. You're delineating the resource, but you also have other projects in that area. What are you looking for in terms of the gold potential elsewhere in the James Bay area?
Well, in total, we have just 900 square kilometers of projects in the western part of James Bay, northeastern part, where Midland is drilling a copper-gold discovery. There we're looking for partners to do that work on our project. One of them, Charles, has not been touched at all and got an interesting magnetic footprint. To the west of the Eleonora mine, we're looking also to have partners work on those projects, and we're going to do some reconnaissance work and find those partners or acquirers, and that will give us cash shares, working commitments, so in due course.
Thank you, Normand.
Pleasure.
I've been talking with Normand Champigny of Quebec Precious Metals.